Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Talking Bitcoin with your host, Danish Hartle. Today I want to talk about my expectations for this Bitcoin bull run, and that is naturally based on history, what we have learned about really the anatomy of a Bitcoin bull run, as we've had several in the history of Bitcoin. I will get into the why in after this, but first of all, I would say that on the shorter term, I think that a price of $15,000 by New Year's is realistic. I think with this amount of money printing going on, and we see assets increase like stocks and real estate, despite the real economy, Main Street, not doing well and high unemployment, etc. I think that with the money printing, that is a realistic thing that Bitcoin will still rise in price, and then I expect a top in this bull run to be likely above $100,000, and naturally I don't know if it's $105,000 or if it's $300,000, but I believe we'll reach above 100,000 US dollars in this bull run, and I think my expectations are that it'll happen either late Q4 2021, which means getting close to the end of the year, or the first quarter of 2022. And the reason why I'm not just saying this will take 1.5 years from the halving, which happened in May, like there is a lot of talk about that, and a lot of people say it will take 1.5 years because that's what it took last year. But I think that if you look at history, and if you look at the length of the bull runs, they have taken longer and longer time. So the last one was 1.5 years. The one back in 2012 to 13, it took only 1 year. And even though history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. I think we need to try and understand why have the bull runs become less steep, and why do they therefore also take a longer time. I want to share first a graph from a Plan B, who is the Dutch quant mathematician working in institutional investing. And let me see if I have it here. Yes. What Plan B from Holland has investigated and found out is that there is a highly statistically significant relationship between stock to flow and the price of Bitcoin. Stock to flow, I know it's a new term that a lot of people probably haven't heard about, but it's really the opposite of inflation. So you could say it's 100 divided by the inflation rate in percentage. That gives the stock to flow. Another way of looking at it is to say, all right, how much do we have in circulation now, and how much is being generated each year? Then that's how you get the stock to flow, saying we have this much in circulation, this much is coming online every year. So the stock to flow is, for instance, let's say we had, this can be used on all assets. It could be gold. If we have 12 ton of gold above ground and 1 ton comes up of the ground, is mined every year, that would give a stock to flow of 12. Now it is above 50 for gold, and obviously there's more than 12 tons of gold, but just to make an easy number to explain what stock to flow is. So it is basically how many years of production at the current production rate do we already have in circulation. Now, Bitcoin, with the halving on May 11th, US time this year, reached a stock to flow quite close to gold, which is a bit of a milestone that gets a lot of people excited because now it's getting comparable to gold in scarcity, and gold has a market cap that is worth around 40 times higher than Bitcoin, even though um, in many aspects Bitcoin really is a better money, a better store of value, a better medium of exchange than gold, and with a more scarce future, where stock to flow will go even higher and eventually, essentially, be infinity 120 years from now, when there is no new Bitcoin coming into circulation, and we've reached the maximum cap of 21 million. So this stock to flow has a relationship with the price of Bitcoin historically, and again, history doesn't necessarily repeat it; it usually rhymes. However, because the price of Bitcoin has swung both above and below the model's price prediction, it suggests that it's not just both of them going up over time randomly, but there is an actual relationship between them, where like a rubber band, the price of Bitcoin goes above and below the stock to flow predicted price, and therefore there is this relationship. Now, a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some people believe that we will have hyper-Bitcoinization in this bull run. Hyper-Bitcoinization, really, it means that fiat currency collapses and everyone goes to Bitcoin because it is simply a better money. But really, my point is that even though that the price of Bitcoin goes up, then I think that before it has a chance to go into hyper-Bitcoinization, as the previous bull runs, a high enough price really triggers current holders of Bitcoin to an extent where they say, I want to cash in, I want to pay off my mortgage, I want to buy a car. And even though they maybe know that Bitcoin is going to go to millions of dollars, it's still life-changing money that some people will say, you know what, I need to take some profit off the table now because that will change my life in case that Bitcoin doesn't go to the millions of dollars, right? There's a certain level where people want to secure some of that profit. And this is what I'm hearing pretty much from all the Bitcoiners I talk with, that as they get near at that high price, and they simply will try and take profits. I have a chat from BTC Moon Guy. Thank you very much. He says, "Yo, Anders, great takes. Appreciate that a lot. I'm doing this for you guys. I enjoy doing these videos. I really do. And I hope to share information that can be part of the education that everyone is using for understanding Bitcoin more, understanding money more, understanding economy, and what's going to happen. So also any topics you guys find interesting or something that you want to know more about, I'll be happy to try and do my best to explain it. If you leave a note in the comment section below, or mention it in the chat now. But what I will say about hyper-Bitcoinization and the fact that I currently don't think it happens with in this bull run. It is very much a moving target for me. So right now, I don't think it will happen because people's need to take profit and secure themselves. But it very much is a moving target. So things in this current environment may change to the extent that I will change my opinion. So it's not something you can hold me on up to. It will be a moving target. So another thing I want to just share with you. Well, first, let me just describe this graph a little bit more. So we had a halving back in November 2000 and I don't know if you can see my cursor, but in November 2012. Yet there was a bull run both in at least once, actually twice back also before this graph, I believe, and in 2011, summer 2011, and therefore it's important to understand that the bull runs are not only triggered by the halvings. Essentially, the reason that the halvings are triggering bull runs is because the stock to flow is doubling, that the inflation rate is cut in half, which is essentially what the halving does. But what's important to understand is in that first epoch between the Genesis block in January 2009 and until the first halving in November 2012, Bitcoin, because the stock to flow came off 0 and ended at 8 by the end of that first epoch, then it actually doubled many times to reach to 8, and that triggered those, in my opinion, early bull runs. And then later, it's because later, where the stock to flow had reached a higher level, it's pretty much now the halvings that creates these doubling of stock to flow. But it's important to understand in that first epoch, up till the first halving, it happened several times, and that, in my opinion, is the explanation why we have those bull runs. What's BTC Moon Guy? I'll get right back to your chat messages just in a second. So what is important to notice with the early bull runs and then the development over time is that the bull runs early on were shorter and they were steeper. My point of view is because stock to flow was accelerating a lot faster back then, again, because it came off a very low number. They came off 0, and it went to 8 in the first epoch. In the second epoch, it went from 8 to 24, so it went up by a factor of 3. Then the next epoch, it went up with a factor 2.33. So you could say the stock to flow it's growing, it's accelerating, but it's growing, but it's decelerating. The pace is coming down, and since this model really proves, or if we are to believe it, which I personally do, since it is the stock to flow that is determining and deciding to a large extent the price of Bitcoin, when stock to flow goes up slower, in my opinion, also that's the reason that the bull run they take longer time and they're less steep. And what I'm spending a lot of time on these days actually is looking into the steepness and how that has developed, because that's what I personally want to use as a way of trying to identify the next bull run top. All right, BTC Moon Guy, thanks a lot for all your input. So you are agreeing with hyper-Bitcoinization, and stock to flow is not looking great, but can't help to be long-term bullish. Okay, maybe you can explain why you don't think it looks great. And this is your second halving. All right, cool. So you've been around for some time, longer than I. Awesome, happy for you. Then also, I just to highlight this as another graph. Let me just share another graph with you. 2 seconds. Let me find that. I believe this is it. Nope. Sorry, that wasn't it. That was my part of my analyzing the different bull run tops. Let me go here. It is the Bitcoin blog reward. It is this one, I believe. Let's have a look at this. This does give us a this graph gives us a little bit cleaner without the colors of the stock to flow, a little bit cleaner look at the price graph, where I want to highlight, I don't know if you guys can see the mouse, but there was a bull run back here in 2011, before the first halving that we had here, and we had a steep bull run up, very steep, followed by correction of some profit taking, and then again it continued up, and we had that monster top, which was at 1,100 plus dollar per Bitcoin. And then there was a big, there was a long bear market and accumulation, and then there was an anticipation of the second bull run, and that bottom of the bear market was 12 months before that second halving, which again created a long bull run. This was the bull run that took 1.5 years, which was followed up. Once it gets steep enough, Bitcoiners feel the need to take profit, pay off that mortgage or whatever they're able to do, depending, of course, how much you have. And then that creates that major correction or bear market. And what's interesting, I think, this time around is that the bottom, the capitulation of the Bitcoin price, which was in December 2018, happened not 12 months before the following halving, but it happened 16 months before the halving we just had in May. So again, things take longer time. The only thing that doesn't take, that's the point I want to share. So let me get back to here. There's a right. Let me see more chat messages from BTC Moon Guy. Right. So BTC Moon Guy is saying stock to flow looks flat, but MicroStrategy is game changing. I don't think stock to flow looks that flat. I mean, if we're stock to flow, he has two different models. The first one suggesting that we will reach $100,000. The second one, the last one he did, where he takes out time and does it based on assets, putting in, I believe, both diamonds and gold and silver and Bitcoin, comparing those to each other and taking out the time element and their stock to flow and the price that they have measured in US dollars, fiat currency. Then that second model is saying $288,000 per Bitcoin. I'm not sure we can get that far without significant enough profit taking for supply to overman demand. So anyway, so I think it looks quite steep. However, I totally agree, BTC Moon Guy, MicroStrategy is a game changer. And that's actually one of the reasons I say that, my belief that hyper Bitcoinization will not set in this bull run, but after the next halving, I'm thinking it's most likely to happen around 2026, where people will run screaming to the fiat currency exit door as it collapses, and everyone trying to squeeze into the Bitcoin room, which will be much nicer than the fiat room, all at the same time. But I agree, MicroStrategy is a game changer, and it could be one of those events that triggers new events, new companies in saying, look, with this amount of money printing, well, fiat printing, because fiat currency is not money. Money is something you can store your value in, and because fiat currency is not scarce, then it's not money. It's only a medium of exchange. Bitcoin is money. Gold is also money. Bitcoin just happened to be a better money, and therefore, in my opinion, will naturally overtake the fiat currency. Simply, fighting Bitcoin from taking over when it's so superior as money, both as a store of value, as a medium of exchange with Lightning Network and other alternatives for second layer medium of exchange solutions on top of Bitcoin. Then I see that as really trying to fight Bitcoin as taking over as money of the world is like trying to fight the gravity of a black hole. It's impossible. It's gonna happen, in my opinion. None of that is financial advice. This is only entertainment and information. You guys all got to make your own due diligence and research, and speak to someone who has a license from the government as a financial advisor before you make any decisions. Risk management and everything. However, back to risk management and MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy simply said, look, we have $250 million on our balance sheet. It is scary and dangerous for us. I don't know if those were his exact words, but it does look scary and dangerous to hold too much fiat currency in an environment like this where they're printing so much of it and therefore diluting the value of it. And therefore, they made the decision. The CEO and founder said, we're going to convert that $250 million US dollars into Bitcoin, because that is a safer money for us to have. Now, I never heard of MicroStrategy before, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't hear about MicroStrategy before. I'm impressed that a company I didn't hear about were able to go out and buy 0.1% of the outstanding supply of Bitcoin ever to be in existence. And in fact, only yesterday or the day before, they went out and bought further, so that they now have one company listed on the stock exchange, on a stock exchange in US, has almost 0.2% of Bitcoin's total supply ever. So that in itself, as we can see on the price, it's a liquid market. It hasn't, it hasn't materially, strongly affected the price of Bitcoin. There's always some, short-term traders that are willing to sell for a profit. But as you say, BT Moon Guy, there's no doubt that it's getting it's an eye opener for other companies that are well known, that have a lot more cash on their balance sheets. And I mean, I believe Apple has more than 200 billion US dollars on the balance sheet. I believe they're the company with the most fiat currency on the balance sheet. And if these FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and other big companies start to make a similar move, no doubt that's going to get so much media attention and directly have such a big impact on the demand for Bitcoin, that that is the type of events that I'll be looking for my estimation of whether hyper-Bitcoinization can happen in this halving, or if we'll have to wait for the next one. I guess I'm being conservative at saying that fiat currency will only die in 2026. We'll have to see what happens. And another, all right, let me see if I got, BTC Moon Guy saying Jim Cramer is getting into Bitcoin, seems big for retail. I totally agree. Jim Cramer is an extremely well-known finance news host, anchor. He has his own show on Market Watch, I believe it is. And when he goes out and say, now, look, I bought Bitcoin because I believe it's the right thing to do in this environment, he has a lot of followers and people that listen to what he says and find inspiration in that. So there's no doubt, like MicroStrategy, Jim Cramer, Paul Tudor Jones back in, I believe it was March or April, that has a huge hedge fund that said he had allocated almost 2% to Bitcoin. as a hedge against this money printing, and it's not impossible that he has increased it further since then, because money printing, currency printing, didn't stop at that stage. Triniman 922, definitely bullish. I totally agree. Yes, we are bullish here. And BTC Moon Guy, Bitcoin is superior. Absolutely. If you look at every single parameter of money and the definition of money, then I mean, fiat currency doesn't even qualify as money, as mentioned before, because it's not scarce. Money has to be scarce. And then if you look at the four most important aspects or properties of money that different commodities, even a digital commodity like Bitcoin, I will argue, it's a commodity. It's digital, but it is a commodity. And throughout history of civilization, different commodities have competed on these certain properties, and whichever was the best package as a money were chosen as money. Now, gold has been money for around 3,000 years. And if you look at these properties and try to understand money, I believe it becomes very easy or easier to understand why Bitcoin is money and why it will take over as money of the world. Now, those four properties that normally has or is what commodities are competing on is first, portability. Now, nothing is more portable than Bitcoin. If you want to pay a vendor in China, for instance, that is producing a product for you in gold, that's either going to be a claim on gold, which we have found out in 1933 and in 1971, is not valid money. A claim on gold can be defaulted on. It needs to be gold itself. Now, in 33, last century, the U.S. government said that, look, dear residents and citizens of the United States, the gold that you have a legal claim on, $20 for an ounce of gold, that you can bring your dollar note and get that ounce of gold, that legal claim, we will now disregard. We're going to keep the gold. You guys keep the paper. Use that as money or use it as currency, but we're going to keep the gold. You're not getting it back. So that was the first default, in my opinion, that U.S. Did, and that was in 1933. 1971, where the Bretton Woods was in existence, which was something that was agreed upon after the Second World War, where the US dollar was tied to gold, and different currencies around the world were fixed to the US dollar. So other countries could come and give a specific amount of fiat currency to the United States to get their gold back. So until 1933, the U.S. government owed gold to the citizens. Until 1971, U.S. Owed gold to the rest of the world. And in 71, Nixon said that temporarily they will do what is necessary for the best of U.S., which was to default on this gold. You guys, you other countries, thank you for your trust. We would now like to abuse it. You're not going to get your gold, but you can keep the paper. So people thinking that a first world massive country, rich, powerful country like US, that their currency can never collapse or default. Listen, it happened 2 times already. US defaulted twice already. And definition of default really is you run away from the obligations you have to give value to someone else. It's happened twice already. All right. So what else we have of chats here? Bitcoin is superior. Yes, absolutely. Brings me back to this definition of money and why Bitcoin is better. First is the portability. So if you want to send gold to someone in China, not a claim, but actual gold, that's going to need a lot of security. There's a high cost with that. And it's got to go with an airplane. It's going to take a lot of time and cost a lot of money in a secure value transfer. And now with Bitcoin, if it's a large amount of value, let's say millions and millions of dollars, sure, you should probably use on-chain transactions, which means the original way of transacting Bitcoin. You should probably add a fee of say $5-10 or something if you want to make sure that transaction is confirmed in the next block. Now, $1 will probably do it, and you can even do it for a couple of cents, then it might just happen a little bit later. So if you want to, make sure 100% is going to go in the next block, or very close to 100%, you gotta bid a maybe $5 to get the transaction in. But what is $5 for a value transaction of millions of dollars? I mean, it's really nothing. If you try to transfer money through a bank, there's a fee. I pay a fee just to receive a wire transfer from someone else, and there is the cut on the fiat currency where they, where they cut a couple of percentages off because you change one currency to another. So Bitcoin is very portable. Another example of Bitcoin's portability, let's say you live in an oppressive regime. They are abusing their citizens, and you want to get out of there. You want to bring your family savings, and this has happened many times throughout history. So bringing out fiat currency is a problem because that could be caught in the airport. Bringing out gold will go off in the metal detector, and again, you have a problem. Bitcoin there is more portable because not only could you go with your Bitcoin wallet, be it on a mobile or a hardware wallet, but you can actually just memorize. I'm not saying this is easy. I don't recommend it, but theoretically, if it's really important to you, you can memorize 12 words in the right order, and you could carry $100 million just in your memory as you cross that oppressive border control where you are not allowed to take your money from one country to another because the mafia has decided otherwise. Let me see. Is there? Yeah. So that's why Bitcoin is just way more portable than any other commodity competing to be money we've seen before. After portability, there's a divisibility. Now, Bitcoin can be divided and subdivided indefinitely. Currently, there's 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. But as I understand from the smart technical people in the space, with a so-called soft fork in the Bitcoin protocol, the Satoshis can even be subdivided further. So it basically makes Bitcoin infinite divisible. And then there's also durability as a third important property of monies. Now, as long as you don't throw away your password or your seed, then essentially Bitcoin is infinite durable. Unlike, let's say, gold, you try and pay with gold dust, last century or the Wild West. That gold dust is, a little bit is going to disappear each time. It's just not as durable as Bitcoin, which is essentially infinite durable as long as you don't throw away your keys. So portability, it's really infinite portable. It's infinite divisible. It's infinite durable. The last traditional fourth property of money is fungibility. Fungibility means privacy. Now, Bitcoin doesn't have really 100% privacy yet. But if you do have some technical skills, or I'm not technical, if you have the will to educate yourself on privacy using your Bitcoin, you actually can do that today. And there's a lot of development going on from the Bitcoin core developers and others that will push this even further, so it becomes easier with 100% privacy. Also using Lightning Network, which is that second layer on top of Bitcoin, which is the unlimited capacity way of having Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, with a very, 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 very sub 1 cent fee for transacting. So you can do microtransactions without the fee ruining it. That also helps on the privacy in the Lightning Network. Furthermore, because Bitcoin is decentralized and digital, it has introduced two new properties to money that we haven't seen before. So first of all, it's unconfiscatable. So as long as you make sure you don't have your seed around yourself, so if someone came and held a gun to your head, They wouldn't be able to torture it out of you. So as long as you do some precautions, make sure you don't have access to it anywhere near, then Bitcoin actually is unconfiscatable. Let's say also, not that I'm saying you should do that, you got to abide the law, but I'm just highlighting Bitcoin's abilities as money. If you lose a trial and you need to pay someone money, then it can't be forced out of you the same way as you could with other like fiat currency or gold. And so that's one important thing. It's unconfiscatable. Say also if people decide, oh, the people in power decide that you are a political opponent, they cannot go in and confiscate it like they can with your bank account with fiat currency or gold for that matter. Maybe it's a little bit harder with gold, but metal detectors means that it is confiscatable gold, unlike Bitcoin. Furthermore, the second aspect of Bitcoin, because it is decentralized and digital, there is permissionless value transfer. So nobody can stop your transfer of money, of value. And that's why you can support organizations that are critical to the people in power. For instance, WikiLeaks back in 2010 that was cut off from funding from the state via credit card companies that were told you cannot have this WikiLeaks as your client because then we will shut down your credit card company. You cannot use SWIFT as bank transfers. That was also blocked from receiving value that way. But Bitcoin stepped in as a alternative way of receiving funding, and WikiLeaks received, I believe it was 50,000 Bitcoin in their mission of highlighting I think war crimes and different things that they believe the people in power essentially have done wrong. Now, I don't know enough about it to say either it's good or it's bad, but I'm just highlighting Bitcoin as money, that it is superior because no one can stop you from transferring value to whoever you want in the world. Let's see what else we have up chat messages here. I'm into the savings technology. BT Moon Guy says, absolutely agree. I don't think there is a more superior way of saving your money. Not only like traditionally saving it, but you're saving it from value theft of inflation. Multisig also, BT Moon Guy mentions, is a smart thing. I believe so as well. I guess it's a little bit more technical, and I don't know enough about it. But the people that are savvy technically say that it's a fantastic thing. So I recommend digging into that further. All right, so what I do I'm on eToro, which is a Bitcoin exchange. They also have other cryptocurrencies that I'm not a fan of. That's another subject. But on eToro, which is an exchange that recently opened up in US, they opened up last year. I think they've been around globally for 20 years or so, but they opened up last year in United States. I am trading the Bitcoin halving cycle that I've described a little bit earlier here, that I believe that because the stock to flow is not accelerating as fast as earlier, I believe it will take a little bit more than 1.5 years this time around. And I expect it to go somewhat above $100,000. The top I will try and identify the steepness of the curve from having looked at the steepness of every single previous bull run and FOMO tops, FOMO being fear of missing out, which is what is really dragging people into Bitcoin when they see that price going up on a graph on TV, for instance, and they buy Bitcoin without even really knowing what it is. And that's the same reason that when the price goes down, they sell it in panic, simply because they haven't yet come to understand that what money is, and once you understand that, you see that Bitcoin is money, unlike fiat currency. And you also see it's the best money the world has ever seen. And then a lot of people come to the understanding, and for that reason, it will take over as money of the world. So what I do on eToro is I trade this halving cycle. I do believe, as I mentioned, that there will be another bear market, simply because the desire to take some money or profit off the table, and do a little bit for yourself and your family. I believe that will happen before we have the actual crash and total collapse of fiat currency. However, so one thing that I do think has surprised most people is this micro strategy that BTC Moonguy mentioned early on. I think until that happened, most people were talking about, okay, like the last bull run, it started bringing in institutions and hedge funds, not so much as it will in this bull run, because now there's more custody possibility at the level where institutions feel safe. Like a couple of months ago, law was passed in the US that allowed banks to hold a Bitcoin. I think that's the kind of thing that institutions are looking for to secure pension funds or whatever it is. Yeah, so let me, so that's one. MicroStrategy is one, a big game changer. People were thinking that from institutions and hedge funds, like basically professional investing, the next thing would be, countries. When will countries start buying Bitcoin? And I guess that not that many people had thought about the step in between, where it's now not only some people who feel that it's safer to have their savings in Bitcoin than fiat currency. There is also now companies that are starting to say, look, $250 million in fiat currency, no way, that's dangerous, it's going to dilute in value. We are switching our entire cash balance to Bitcoin. It's just safer. I couldn't agree more. Again, not financial advice. So those are the things I believe, they are pushing forward hyper Bitcoinization, which I do strongly believe in. I want to share one more thing here. Let me just find this. So this is a tweet I sent out, I guess, a couple of hours before I started this live stream. Let me, unable to share this screen. Please try again. We're going to try again. We're not going to let anything stop us if possible. Let's see, share. I think we've got it now. Here we go. Bloomberg have interviewed Ray Dalio, which is the founder and CEO of the largest hedge fund in the world. So they have a lot of say and power in the market when they move their money around. Now, Ray Dalio is not yet a Bitcoin believer, but in this interview by Bloomberg, he is talking about the risk, the real threat right now that there is of fiat currency collapse. Again, I couldn't agree more. And I must say, I didn't expect this to happen until the coverage of the potential collapse of fiat currency like US dollars. I didn't expect to see that until after the next halving, simply because by that time, when Bitcoin goes to, say, 2 million US dollars, in my opinion, then which is likely in my opinion, that would put the market cap of Bitcoin, so high, 40 trillion US dollars, that it would be such a well-known thing that people around the world and media would cover, that has become the most valuable money in the world, measured on market cap, that I believe that would be the trigger of people running to the exit of the fiat currency room, and everyone trying to get into the Bitcoin room at the one and same time. I was expecting to see that after the next Bitcoin halving, but already now, where this halving haven't reached FOMO proportions yet, that's going to happen when we start, I guess, going to new all-time high and 50,000, etc. Um, then already now, this early on, because of COVID, because of all the restrictions about you got to close down your business, you guys can't see each other, and that negative impact that COVID-19 has had on the economy around the entire globe, they have started to print money to try and stimulate the economy. They have mainly been still stimulating asset prices because nobody wants to hold fiat currency. Well, a lot of people don't want to hold it, and instead they buy assets as a way of hedging themselves against this value dilution. So because of that whole situation, already now we're seeing, even though Bitcoin hasn't become big yet, it really hasn't in the big game of money. But already now, because of this accelerated quantitative easing on steroids, as I call it, because of that, already now we see this mentioning of that there is a real existential threat to fiat currency simply because they're killing it at a high speed right now, the value of it. So that's what I do on eToro. This information, or my personal analysis of what I think. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but my belief in the anatomy of this Bitcoin bull market. And again, it's a moving target. I may change, probably from a month-to-month basis on when and how this is going to reach a peak, and then a bear run, or bear market, if a bear market. That's what I'm trading on eToro, where I am planning to sell as close to the top as I can. It's important to say that on eToro, and I have a link to the trading profile below, where I also do post a lot of articles and opinions. Important to say is that it's only part of my Bitcoin holding. I don't have a lot of Bitcoin, but a little bit of it I'm trading on this halving price cycle. So I will aim to sell as close to the top as possible, and then rebuy back in as close to the bottom as possible. And by the way, I expect that bear market to be shorter than the previous one, simply because the bull market takes longer time, and also historically that capitulation and uptrend happens earlier before the halving, so it leaves less time for a bull market. Anyways, that's what I'm trying to do on eToro. So I'm hoping to double my amount of Bitcoin there that I have allocated to trading this halving cycle. On eToro, you can you can either confidently, you can trade yourself. Anyone can trade a Bitcoin if you have an account there. But also the thing, and that's the reason why I'm mentioning it, is if you don't feel confident in your own ability to trade, you can actually copy other traders on eToro, and that means you allocate a certain amount of money, like $500 or $200 or $1,000, whatever people want to allocate, and they can copy a person with that. When that person, whatever trades, for instance, I do, the people that have copied me, they make the same trades, like in terms of percentage of the money they have allocated to copy me. And copying someone else is free. The price that there is that whenever a trade is done, everybody pays a fee for the trade. I pay a fee for the trade, but I don't pay less than anyone who copies me does. And for the same reason, I don't day trade. I don't believe I can outperform the market short term. I believe it's for me it's too hard with the short term, but I believe the medium term of the Bitcoin halving price cycle is something that I can nail. At least it's fun to try. So that's why Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin, technical development of Bitcoin. It's something that I'm paying a lot of attention to pretty much every single day. This is my passion, as you may be able to tell. Um, um, yes, so BTC Moon Guy is mentioning that when he sells, he will hold something back 50% after taxes. So once taxes are paid, as I understand it, he'll keep he or she, or I guess it's a guy, so it's a he. You will hold back some of that to buy the dip, and it's exactly the same thing that I'm planning to do on eToro. Again, history doesn't repeat. To me, it looks obvious and easy. Probably it's not. Definitely not financial advice, but I think it's a great challenge to try and trade this halving cycle. That being said, Trudyman922 and BTC Moon Guy, thank you very much for participating and throwing in some comments there. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed today. Feel free to drop some comments if you have any topics that you would like to have some questions answered about. I'll try and do my research and answer those topics. This is my fun. BTC Moon Guy says, I'll be watching to see how your trades go. I'm not a trader, but will want to sell at some point. Yes. Well, thank you very much. And I agree. Hey, you're welcome. BTC Moon Guy says, thanks, Anders. You're more than welcome. I guess most of us do not consider ourselves trader. Neither do I. I'm not a day trader, but I do see myself as a medium-term trader. Essentially, trying to take profit at the right time. I learned my mistake in 2017 in December, where the price was going vertical, and I did nothing because I was like, yeah, this is not, now we're going to the moon. Turns out the moon was at 20,000 and not at 100,000 or more back then. So I will, do my best to take some profit there and then rebuy when it gets cheaper, because I think that is still what will happen. I will continue to comment on my expectations for the bull run and whether or not there will be a bear market. If it's something that you're interested in, please feel free to subscribe on my YouTube channel. And I'd love to get input from you guys and have you participate in the discussion on whether this is going to happen or not. To me, it's one of the most interesting things happening right now in the world. Is the big question of if we will see a bear market, or if we will see hyper Bitcoinization, which is the flip side of hyperinflation of fiat currency, already in this epoch between the halving we just have and the likely April 2024 halving that we will have. Anyways, guys, especially BTC Moon Guy and Triniman, thank you very much for watching and participating. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy it. And until next time, enjoy Bitcoin. And as Vortex said in the show that I used to follow and enjoy a lot, keep talking Bitcoin. Bye.